Ladies and gentlemen, the main event of UFC 278 will be headlined by the greatest UFC welterweight champion of all time, the Nigerian Nightmare, Kamaru Usman, a man known for leaving no stones unturned. His dominant, his brutal, his vicious, his precise with his striking, and he's looking to defend his undisputed UFC welterweight title for the sixth consecutive time against the native of Birmingham, Leon Rocky Edwards, live and exclusive in Salt Lake City, Utah, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go. But guys, on a serious note, this might be shocking to say, but I believe at a fundamental level that I believe that Leon Edwards will be the man to beat Kamaru Usman. Yes, I said so, and this opinion sounds controversial. Well, there's many factors, but number one, let's start with the trajectory of both fighters. Let's start with the Nigerian Nightmare, Kamaru Usman. Of course, he's the reigning, defending, undisputed UFC welterweight champion. Kamaru Usman's record currently in the UFC is 20 wins and 1 losses in 21 fights, basically. And his first loss came back in 2013 or 14 against Jose Caceres. Something like, I can't really get his name, but Jose Caceres, I think that's his name. Kamaru Usman's first loss. I think it was a beautiful rear naked choke, by the way. That was his loss. But after that, he went on a tear in the UFC, brutally dominating people with his wrestling, submitting people, knocking people out with his devastating power, and he's really established himself as a contender, and eventually with multiple victories against the likes of Rafael dos Anjos and Leon Edwards back in 2015 and 2018, 17, 18 respectively. Kamaru Usman, man, finally managed to get a title shot against the former welterweight champion in the chosen one, Tyron Woodley. This was indeed at UFC 235 back in 2019 when the Nigerian Nightmare Kamaru Usman brutally dominated Tyron Woodley for 5 rounds, winning all rounds in the judges' scorecards, honestly. And since then, he went on a tear, defending his title twice against Colby Chaos Covington, twice against Jorge Masvidal, and once against Gilbert Burns, and obviously he's looking for a 6th consecutive title defense against the native of Birmingham, England, Leon Edwards, ladies and gentlemen. So Usman has definitely established himself as the greatest UFC welterweight champion of all time, without a shadow of a doubt. GSP was incredible, was an amazing fighter, but it's not the wins that you have, but it's how you win. To me, that is what matters more. I mean, GSP, he's incredible. He's had great victories against the likes of BJ Penn. He's defeated the likes of Carlos Condit and Nick Diaz. But a lot of these fights went to the 5th round, right? You know what I mean? It was a decision victory against these fighters. Kamaru Usman, on the other hand, he was knocking people out. He's TKO'd Colby Covington, knocked out Jorge Masvidal, finished Gilbert Burns. And he completely dominated Colby Covington. Well, I wouldn't say he completely dominated him, but it was a good fight between him and Colby Covington in the first fight, and the first fight against Masvidal, he was totally dominant, and second fight he managed to get the finish, right? So it's incredible, his record. And his takedown defense is 100%. Though a lot of people would argue that Colby Covington took him down in the second fight. I would disagree with that. I would agree with the statisticians of the UFC who actually said that it wasn't a takedown. Colby landed something that looked like a takedown, but Usman managed to get back up really quickly and didn't count as a takedown. So currently the Nigerian Nightmare's takedown defense stands at 100%. No one has taken him down. So Leon Edwards' chances of taking Kamaru Usman down is negligible. And going into this fight, Usman also has a longer reach, and we all know that he's been training with Trevor Whitman in Denver, Colorado, the same man that trains Justin Gaethje and Doug Rose and Namajunas. So Usman's striking is going to be flawless going into this fight. But we all know that Leon Edwards is predominantly a striker. So let's go to Leon Rocky Edwards. Leon Rocky Edwards, the man with the longest journey to a title fight probably we've ever seen. And we all knew from day one, from back in 2019, we've all been saying that Leon Edwards deserved the title shot from then, and he didn't get it. He didn't get the opportunity to fight for the title based on many factors, right? One of the factors is that some people view them as being boring. Some people consider him as being a person who wouldn't sell fights and all of that because he doesn't talk as much trash as the likes of Colby Covington, for example, or the likes of Israel Adesanya, Conor McGregor, or even perhaps Kamaru Usman. He didn't have much of a rivalry with people or much of sort of like an animosity with fighters within the UFC welterweight division, apart from Jorge Masvidal, obviously. I mean, Jorge Masvidal, obviously, the journeyman, was a man that obviously attacked and assaulted Leon Rocky Edwards back in 2019. So obviously that was a fight that we could have seen, but it didn't happen, unfortunately. But Leon Rocky Edwards, his record currently stands at 19 wins, 3 losses, 0 draws, and 1 no contest. Obviously, that 1 no contest coming against Bilal Muhammad when he poked him in his eyes, and Bilal Muhammad was just crying like, "Oh my God, poke me in the eyes." And yeah, that was unfortunate. But apart from that, he went on a tear. He's currently on an 8-fight winning streak, like 8-fight win streak. Honestly, incredible. His last loss came against the Nigerian Nightmare, the man he's going to be facing this Saturday. His last loss came against Usman back in 2015, December 2015, and since then he went on a tear, defeating the likes of Nate Diaz, Donald, Cowboy Cerrone, the likes of Rafael dos Anjos, and we all know that anyone who defeats Rafael dos Anjos is already establishing themselves as a title contender, right? Defeating a guy called Albert Turmanov, also back in the day. I think that was the rear naked choke submission. It was incredible. Vincente Luque, Brian Barberina, and Gunnar Goody Nelson as well. So all these people he defeated, you know what I mean? So he definitely has established himself as a worthy title contender against the Nigerian Nightmare, Kamaru Usman, without a shadow of a doubt, ladies and gentlemen. So the whole meat of the video, the whole chunk of this video, just I've said is, I believe that Leon Edwards will be the man to beat Kamaru Usman. Why am I saying this? Well, the reason why I'm saying this is because without him, who is it going to be? Tell me. Without Leon Edwards, tell me who is going to be the Nigerian Nightmare, Kamaru Usman. Certainly not Khamzat Chimaev. I mean, after that performance against Gilbert Burns, I mean, he was tested really hard. And if Gilbert Burns can push him that hard, I think Usman is going to sleep him. So certainly it's not Khamzat Chimaev, though the division is the welterweight division currently is the most exciting division in the UFC, alongside obviously the lightweight division. Leon Edwards is the guy for an array, is the man for an array of reasons to beat Kamaru Usman. Number one, Leon Edwards is an incredible striker. He's big for the welterweight division. He stands at 6 feet 2 inches tall, right? And he got 72, 74 inch reach advantage. Well, he doesn't have a reach advantage over Kamaru Usman, but his low kicks are devastating. We saw it against Nate Diaz, and he's not a bad wrestler at all. So his takedown defense, though not flawless, but it's better than most in the UFC welterweight division. And he's not predominantly a wrestler, but we saw what he did to Nate Diaz. We saw what he did to Donald Cowboy Cerrone. Totally dominated all these fighters. Yes, you can make an argument that Nate Diaz clipped him in the 5th round, but still, Leon Edwards was dominant throughout that fight. And how does his style match with Kamaru Usman? Kamaru Usman might come into the fight probably trying to strike with Leon Edwards, and Usman's striking is improved incrementally. Like it's improved exponentially. We can see it obviously since he started training with Trevor Whitman, right? But I think overall, for me, the reason why I'm saying Leon Edwards would be the better striker going into the fight, it's not because of my own biases or anything like that, or unconscious biases. The reason why I'm saying that is because Leon Edwards was a born striker. He's been doing this longer than Kamaru Usman. Kamaru Usman has been a wrestler, and once a wrestler, always a wrestler. Do you know what I mean? And no one has really pushed him into deep waters. Maybe Colby Covington was the only person that pushed Usman into deep waters. But, you know, someone like Leon Edwards striking with Kamaru Usman, I think Leon Edwards already has the advantage on the feet. And we all know that Leon Edwards, his takedown defense is okay, it's good. And Kamaru Usman, his wrestling is mostly defense rather than trying to take people down. So I think if you factor in all of that, and if you factor in the power discrepancy, yes, people would argue that Usman would have the power going into the fight. I do believe at a fundamental level that Kamaru Usman will have the advantage going into the fight based on his record, based on his knockouts, based on his vicious, incredible wrestling. But I think The reason why I'm saying that Leon Edwards could win this fight is because of his skill sets in terms of his striking, honestly. His striking is lethal. I mean, watch the fight against Cowboy Cerrone. He bleeded Cowboy Cerrone. Watch the fight against Nathan Diaz. He laid a beating on him. Watch the fight against Vincente Luque, against Gunnar Goody Nelson, or against Brian Barberina. He totally annihilated, outclassed these people, and Dos Anjos as well was one of his victims as well. Now, I'm not saying these fighters are merely equivalent to Kamaru Usman, but what I'm saying is that Leon Edwards could be the man to shut Kamaru Usman. Though again, Kamaru Usman, it makes sense that he's the betting odds favourite going into this fight. That makes a lot of sense. But I'm going for Leon Edwards. I'm going for the underdog. I'm going for Leon Edwards as the fighter to beat Kamaru Usman, because if he doesn't, who is gonna do it? Do you know what I mean? On paper, theoretically speaking, Usman has all the advantages. Some people would argue he has the striking advantage, and I mean they got a perfectly plausible, reasonable argument to make that. Others might argue the rest of the advantage is so there's such a huge disparity that Leon Edwards doesn't stand a chance, and we saw that in the first fight, especially in the third round. So these are all you've got a perfectly logical argument saying that, but I think if Leon Edwards doesn't do it, who's going to do it? No one. That's the reason why I'm saying that Leon Edwards is going to beat Kamaru Usman. Obviously, ladies and gentlemen, I do obviously appreciate you lot taking the time watching the video. I want to know more about your predictions. I know this video seems like a little bit of a long video. I went on a bit of a rant as well. So if it doesn't feel structured, whatever, like, just let me know in the comment sections. Make sure to smash the like button down below as well. Try and subscribe though, man, because what I realized is that a lot of people who are watching these videos aren't actually subscribed. A large percentage of people aren't actually subscribed. So subscribe, turn on your notification bells and that, and obviously leave your comments down below as well. You know, we could have a dialogue about the actual event, ladies and gentlemen. So I really appreciate that, and have yourselves a fantastic day.